Hey guys, welcome back to our neck of the woods. So today's video, I still got Aaron here. It's Sunday. We've had the lumber out in the yard for 2 days now for the floor joist, so we got to get it out of there. Last night I noticed huge thousands of black carpenter ants all over the place. So we're starting to move them into the garage. The project that we want to work on today is we want to go ahead and start pre-drilling and getting all of our hangers set up. If you remember from our other video, these hangers are going to get bolted onto this LVL here, and then as these bolts here go through the plate, through the LVL, they self-tap into the octagon plates that we have already embedded in the ICF wall. So we've got the drill out. I gotta find out which drill bit is the correct size for these, because obviously we don't want to over drill. Basically, I'm just trying to save the integrity of this tip. I don't want to have to be drilling through 2.5 or 1 3/4 LVL, dolling this tip up a little bit before it can make contact with that octagon plate, because it has to drill through steel. So we'll just pre-drill it with a normal drill bit. I'll probably just put in a little screw, or put these in about halfway so they don't stick out. That way we can start moving these beams up into the basement. Now we've got a few different sizes of LVLs. The biggest ones are 26 footers. Basically, they're going to be going along the back wall, and I think I have to cut them down to about 25 something. So you'll have a 25 footer coming into center and then a 25 footer coming in the center. So we've got 2 on the back wall, we're gonna have 2 on the front wall, and then I've got 6 of them that are gonna sit in the main beam. So 3 here coming into 25 feet, and then 3 here coming into 25 feet, and that'll sit in the center. So 6 of those are going to make up the main beam that hold up the entire house. But we're going to start trying to get these ones installed for the front and the back. And then we still have, I think, 20 footers that are going to go from here to the main beam and then here to the main beam. Now, in the corners for here, where this one comes into the main beam, that corner comes in the main beam. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got gussets that are going to go into the corner. So as those LVLs come in together, we've got a gusset that'll go in there and it'll attach it. So basically, every single piece around the perimeter will be attached together, and every piece that will go into the main beam that'll attach together here. So this basically all one setup will be all tied in and will be super strong and super structural. I've got a few more LVLs where our stair opening is going to be. We're actually going to make those out of LVLs too. So if you imagine these guys here for our stair opening, instead of using the I-joists or the I-beams, we're going to use LVL. So the stair opening is a little bit longer. So those will go all the way across the same distance as those. And then we'll have one LVL that'll get cut down that'll go this way and this way, and that'll be the stair opening hole, and that all gets tied together too.
What's the trouble?
They want you to pre-drill with a 5/13 drill bit. Well, a 5/13 is 0.38 inches. Well, the closest thing I've got is a 3/8, but a 3/8 is 0.37, and that drill bit is 1,000 times bigger than that bolt, so that ain't the correct size to use. I'm gonna have to just match it up and just go a little bit smaller. I don't want to go too big. 7/32 is not bad. That's 0.21. Yeah, see, that's tight in there where it's touching the edges, but a 0.32, you got room. I don't know why their instructions say a 5/32. That's just a massive drill bit. That's also just a weird size. All right, so I got 3 out of the 4 long beams done that are going to go in the front of the back of the house. They're all prepped up right now. They just need hung. After we get the first one hung, I know that I need to cut this end. I know that I need to cut that end, and that's where this end and this end basically will join together in the middle. Right now they're a little bit over, but we'll need to cut it back. Right now I'd like to go ahead and start working on getting all the foam down in the basement. It dawned on me that we don't need the vapor barrier down on the sand first, because I'm going to end up having to buy 2 rolls of vapor barrier anyway. So if we put the foam down first on the sand, put in all the pecks again, and then put the vapor barrier on top, the concrete won't be able to get down into the cracks and lift the foam up. Because of that, instead of bringing in more sand, I'm just going to go ahead and get a few loads of 57 round. Just throw that down into the basement where we're a little low, because the foam's going to sit on it. So we don't have to worry about really any punctures, because that stone there is not going to puncture up through 2 inches of foam. And we don't have to worry about it puncturing it through the vapor barrier, because we're putting it on top. So we're going to set up back down there, start doing all of the foam into the basement, and should be able to get that knocked out today. And then figuring out where we're going to do all the radiant heating runs. All right, so I think I'm gonna call this here for today. I got about 5 rows in, and then I started noticing that there's just too many humps and stuff, and I was leveling the sand out all kind of by eye, and I really don't want to spend this much money in concrete just in case. So busted out the laser level, started checking everything out, and if you notice, that is all of the sand that I've actually been pulling back. So this is going to take me and Aaron a few days probably, or me by myself, to just keep dragging the sand, because I definitely want to get this floor nice and flat. I want it to get it the proper thickness. So that's why I got the laser level out, because like I said, there was definitely a couple spots like in here that were just too high. And then when I started getting up around the pier, I'm like, that's not going to be 4 inches of concrete to match up with that. Because like, if you remember, the foam is sitting on the footer. So that 2 inches of foam matches up with the ICF wall. So you have no thermal barrier issue here, where that concrete's going to be cold and coming up in. That foam goes right up to foam. The concrete will be poured, and it'll be a nice seamless transition there. So when you get over here to the pier, the concrete's going to be 4 inches, and it's going to be the same level as this pier. So this pier is 6 inches taller than the footer. So that's why I kind of want this to be as perfect as possible. So nothing's going to be more perfect than a laser level. So we'll be back at it again probably tomorrow or the next day. Just keep dragging all this sand over here, which is actually good news, because I won't have to bring in stone to dump in here, and I won't have to bring in any more sand to kind of put all into these areas where obviously you can see the entire footer is basically exposed. So just keep dragging that over here, dump it in here, and then we should be good to go. So like I said, we'll be back at it. We'll keep going with this video, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. All right, so it is the third day, September 1st. We are almost finished with the basement. Yesterday we got all of the foam down, all the sand spread out, and we only actually had to remove 2¼ buckets of sand. I just brought my tractor right up to one of the basement windows. We put in 2 buckets, went out and dumped it, and we actually were over on sand. So that's a good thing. Didn't have to spend any more money. So last night it actually got really dark, but I waited to get the third run done for the PEX tubing. So far I've got a zone in here, which again, kind of my fault to think you got to go around the perimeter, because if you can see that middle one right there is a return, and those 2 over there are going to be return. Those 3 over there are a supply. The mistake is getting them like back to each other, not having to overlap. But right there on that third one, I had to overlap. So basically I just cut a groove in the foam, ran that return under. So now the supplies are going over top of it. So the 3 more supplies will go over. I'm kind of going around the perimeter, going down there, zigzagging back, and then on the back wall, coming back for a return, which is coming back to these 3 on this side. So the hots will be over here, the colds will be over here. So 3 more to knock out kind of this middle area here. I got 3 more runs, and Amazon just showed up with a bunch more clips because I was down to my last box there. So I ordered 6 more. I definitely probably won't need all 6. I'm being a little bit more conservative on the staples this time, because before I was putting the staples a lot more closer together because I didn't want the concrete to lift up the foam or get under the PEX and lift the PEX up. But now that I've decided to put the vapor barrier on top of everything, it's impossible for anything to lift. That concrete's just going to push down on the vapor barrier and everything's going to stay locked in. So we're going to set the camera back up. We're going to knock out the rest of these clips, 3 more runs of PEX, and then I'm calling the concrete company and we're doing an order, and we're going to pour the basement this week. I got the PEX laid, got the last 3 rows done here. Probably only took about an hour, hour and a half. I did run out of the PVC 90s, so I'm gonna go to the store and pick up a few more of those. And then this is the part of the video that I was talking about before where I'm gonna spend a little bit more time with the vapor barrier because we do have some pretty large cracks. And in fact, this stuff is warping even more down in here. I'm assuming because of the white is reflecting down. In fact, some of these first boards over here, crazy, but everywhere where you see the black, where they wrote on it, down in there, for example, that first black strip, it has melted the foam probably 3/8 of an inch or more. The sun just buried into that blackness. It absorbed all the heat. The white probably reflected down in it too. So these panels are just absolutely warping and picking up like crazy. Only till about 1, 2, 3, 4, about row 5, because that's where I started yesterday. And if you guys noticed, the sun is not coming past midway, while in June it was all the way up to there. So you can see the sun is getting further and further south in the sky, so it's not able to cast a shadow as bad as over here. But we're gonna go see what tape I need and get that rolled out and really preserve that moisture from not coming up into the concrete slab. One thing I did want to mention, if you guys notice this strip here and probably a strip over here, I am testing out some garage floor tiles. These seem to be okay. They're a little bit more rubbery than plastic. I think they work fine. They do pretty good that if you push down in it with something sharp, it kind of bounces back over time, so you can't see where you were pushing down into it. So if I were to ever like put a floor jack down on the ground and lift a car up, it should bounce back and recover. They only come in gray and black. I'll link a description down below to what they are and where you can get them. They go together fairly easy. Again, they only come in this light gray and black, so your pattern, pretty much you have to make it with what you will. I wish there was some like blue or red or anything like that, but better than nothing. Better than having to see the concrete floor where I don't have to stain it or smooth it or acid etch it or anything like that. So I think they'll be okay. So we'll be back in a minute. I'll head to the store, get that stuff, knock this out, and then again, I'll call the concrete company and see what day we can pour. So I'm back from the store. I got some red all-purpose tape. It's not enough to do everything down in the basement, but basically the game plan is because the roll is 20 feet long, I'm going to overlap the seam and just run a tape line all the way down the center. Then, with what tape is left over, I'm going to take the vapor barrier and I'm going to run it up the side of the wall above even where the concrete's going to be. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of tape every 5-6 feet or whatever, just to hold that vapor barrier up and stuck to the ICF. That way, when we pour the floor, we will have a complete vapor barrier all the way down the center, taped off. And then as the vapor barrier comes up the side here, the concrete will push that vapor barrier into the wall and it will stay sticking up here with the tape. And that way no water from underneath can come up through, because it's going to be pushed into the corners and it's going to be taped in the middle and it'll be 100%. Now, it's going to rain for the next 2 days. Again, that's probably never going to happen because it's where we live, but whatever. So what I want to get it finished today is actually finishing the waterproofing. I want to get the rest of the dimple membrane in, and then I'm going to continue to dump stone. And it actually works out nice that if you leave a little bit of the geotech fabric up here, when it rains, none of that silt can really fall in here. And what does fall in here is behind the geotech fabric, because the French drain is not getting clogged, but you can definitely tell down in the sump pump hole. I don't know if you can see down in there, but down in the sump pump hole, it's probably got about that much silt already built up. So every time it rains and any water that hits this clay right here brings it down on top of the geotech fabric where the French drain is sitting, it's just bringing it right in. So I want to start to avoid that. So we're gonna basically do exactly what you see here, knock all this out, put a few feet of stone in, and then this should be done by today. Where I do have a seam, just FYI, I do have some silicone caulking that I'm going about a foot or so in here and just running 2 or 3 lines of silicone caulking in there. That way when I push the 2 holes together and they kind of lock in, the silicone is keeping that waterproofed. So that way water's not trying to really get in this way and go behind the dimple membrane. You're kind of locking and gluing this seam right here. I did go ahead and finish up the back wall already. And I went ahead and moved a whole bunch of dirt in here because I'm gonna have to come in from the backside to bring in this stone since I have all these braces in the way here. Now, don't make fun of me. These holes are absolutely horribly cut. In fact, they're not even circles, but it's okay. Around the waterproofing of all 3 of these pipes, there's so much mastic and rub-ar wall waterproofing thrown around there that I'm not looking at this to being a waterproofing membrane. It's just simply there, again, for the drainage of water to get down to through the stone and get down into the French drain to be taken away. Water is probably never ever going to be able to come up there because that bottom pipe there is a foot off of the footer. There's no way this French drain is probably ever going to fail or I'm ever going to get water in there. So it's okay that these are ugly as can be, but is what it is. I think it'll work fine and we should be good to go. I think that's gonna wrap this video up here. We got the vapor barrier all down. As you can see, we taped the middle seam. We taped up the walls just a little bit so that way when the concrete flows, it'll push the vapor barrier down into all of the corners, and that way you pretty much have a lock seam so no moisture or anything can get up. And I also started excavating the round stone here, pulling the round stone away from here that was used kind of as a barrier to push the 2x6s up against there for the concrete. Like I said, the 57 round is too weak. It moves too much when you try to step on it and stuff. So I've got a couple tons of 57 limestone that I'm gonna put in to all of this area up to the level of the concrete, and that'll taper 57 limestone away from here. When we're ready to pour this slab, I'll just do the same thing. I'll drag all that 57 away so this face here is exposed. That way the new concrete slab will face up and be level with this. That will be all in this area. Tomorrow, I might be able to start backfilling with just regular soil. Since I've got the stone pretty much at the height that I want, I've got the vapor barrier or the geotech fabric wrapped back around, so any dirt that falls on here, that way the silt and sand and clay and everything can't get down through that and get through the 57 and clog up the drain tiles. Back around here, I didn't backfill all the way yet. I left the septic exposed, I left the sump pump exposed, and I still got to go ahead and get caps for these T's so that I can block those off and then finish off the stone. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with these yet. I have no idea when I'm actually going to start trenching through here and go over to the septic, or trench for that to go over here and just to shoot out into the ditch or not. So hope you guys enjoyed another video. Another installment here of our home build by ourselves. Please like and subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you get the bell on so you're notified when we have another video up and posted. And we will see you guys next time. I did call the concrete. We can't actually do it this week. Wednesday and Thursday look crappy for weather. Friday, the pumper's not ready or Randall's not ready. Basically, you're trying to get a whole bunch of people together. But it looks like Tuesday is going to be the day. That way, me, Randall, the pumper truck, and the concrete are all on the same page. So, unfortunately, that's what we're having to deal with. Please comment below if you guys have any more questions, and we will see you all next time.
I'm trying